Depending on who you listen to, it's either the apocalypse or the greatest thing that happened since God made my pecs out of chocolate moonbeams. I'm talking yet again, thank you, about the healthcare reform crud passed by crazy people on Sunday. Joining us now to make sense of this, and hopefully some risotto too, is our old friend, Republican Thaddeus McCotter from Michigan. Well, I call him old friend, but he really hates my guts. Can't blame him. I'm a jerk. Hey, Congressman, so did you have a fun weekend?
Well, no, Greg, I didn't. It was a bad weekend for America, and now I come on your show, and I'm having Jim shrink all politicians as wanting to be comedians, and I'm boring S.E. Cup. So my weekend has not transitioned into a better week.
I want to ask you, since we're talking about people on the table, to put yesterday in perspective, is the health care bill as bad as the red-eye bill?
Wait a second.
Nothing's as bad as red eye, Greg. It really isn't.
You said red eye, the whole.
Yes, but we knew what he meant. But okay, a lot of people, Congressman, are throwing around the words like apocalypse.
I hate when they throw that word.
When they throw around apocalypse and saying things like it's over and America is dead. Are they overreacting or underreacting or just reacting?
Well, I think like we saw with the Wall Street bailout, which was essentially a vote saying, are with us the people, or are you with big government and big business? This became a vote in the minds of the public. Are you with big government, or are you with the American people? And as they watched a tawdry process continue toward a abysmal product, they watched people, professed principles cave. They watched elected representatives sell their votes to the highest bidder for legislative rewards, Cornhusker kickbacks, Louisiana purchases. In short, what they saw was what the Rasmussen polling all reveals is that Americans have come to realize that to believe this big government is a special interest. And when you think about it, what more could you have seen on the floor of the House or over the past year than government out to expand its own power over the American people and hell-bent to do it? If you think about it, Greg, if you think about it really, big government is a special interest, and Obama is President Obama is its biggest lobbyist.
I like the fact that you assumed that I thought about this, but I want to ask you on a scale. I know on a scale. He just looks so disgusted with me. On a scale of 1 to say 27,000, how much does this bill change America?
Well, it's going to change it very much, Greg, because it's going to set up the government in the position of the driver on health care, not the patients, not the doctors. It's going to try to do everything to lead us towards the day of a single-payer system, much like you have in Canada and in Western Europe. What it really does is it expands, again, the power and intrusion of the federal government into your life. And what I think we've seen that has been so unprecedented is the way that the left wing of the Democratic Party has jammed this on the American people. The procedural safeguards in the House and especially in the Senate have been disregarded. A president has chosen to be a leader of a party and an ideology rather than our country. And the American people have watched a massive expansion in American entitlement spending done without a single Republican vote, which for the first time in history has occurred. And it is also the first time in history that we can see that there is no national consensus supporting it. What the president should have done is backed up, heeded the American people, worked with both sides of the aisle to build a public consensus for it. Instead, this is not simply a threat to our health care system. This is big government tearing at the social fabric, tearing at the political contract, and undermining people's faith in their representative institutions. So it has both an economic impact, it has a medical impact, and it has a political impact between how people relate to their government.
I don't think you feel strongly enough about this, Congressman. What do you make of the states saying that they're going to file lawsuits challenging the constitutionality of the legislation, and are Republicans going to try to repeal this?
Well, first, on the first part, Greg, I feel very strongly about this. I think the American people feel very strongly about it. Not all of us run around saying it's apocalyptic, but we do think that it has momentous import for the country. Secondly, what the states do is, as you know, states' abilities to operate and serve as laboratories of democracy have been impaired continually through the 20th century and are continue to be infringed on by the federal government. This is a massive intrusion into their ability as separate sovereign entities to help represent and serve their constituents. So I expect that there will be court challenges. And finally, I forgot what your other question was because you bore me.
Are Republicans going to try to repeal this?
We're going to try to repeal and replace it, Greg. The principal difference, as we've talked about before and you do not remember, is that the Democrats wanted government-run, bureaucrat-dictated health care. Republicans and centrist Democrats wanted free market, patient-centered wellness. What the president did is he took some Republican ideas and sprinkled it onto his government takeover of health care. Those reforms we think are helpful, but what will not happen is they will not be sustainable over time because of the premise of the president's bill. Free market reforms within a government-run system will simply die on the vine. What we want to do is repeal the bill that's there, replace it with something that is in the interest of the American people and something that they can latch onto and actually control their own health care, expand the supply of health care, squeeze out through competition and patient choice the costs in the system, and move towards wellness.
All right. Hey, Congressman, last question. Can I call you Rad Thad from now on?
There's, unfortunately for me, a First Amendment that allows you to do whatever you want.
All right. Thank you, Congressman. See you at halftime. All right, so do you have a comment on the...
Andy.
Hey, Congressman, are you here?
I'm here, Andy.
No, thank God. You said big government is a special interest, and I agree. Shouldn't we just vote out all the incumbents and start over?
I think you should be more discriminating in your palate.
Really? All right. Greg asked
Although in fairness, Andy, I think the public would agree with you on that.
Yes. Maybe I'll run for office. Greg asked... Congressman?
Did we lose him? Can you...
I thought you were talking about... I'm sorry, Andy, I didn't hear that.
Okay. All right. Convenient. Michelle Bachmann introduced a bill to repeal the health care legislation, but if you had the votes to repeal it, wouldn't you have had the votes to stop it?
Well, obviously, right now, she's putting that in as a future marker in the ground, so that people know what the Republicans want to do. And there'll be other bills. There were a lot of bills on repeal put in, but the goal is to repeal and replace, to put the health care system in a better place than where it is now under the big government scheme of the Obama administration.
All right. One more question, Congressman. What happened with Congressman Stupak?
I'll let Bart speak for himself. He's a good friend of mine. I was very disappointed to see what he did, but it would be unfair for me to put words in his mouth.
So you won't say Stupak is as Stupak does?
No, I won't do that to Bart.
As usual, you are no fun.
Vote me out. That's what you're going to do anyway.
Yeah. I don't live in Michigan. It doesn't matter.
So we got one thing going for us.
Yep, which is nice. Let's move on. Tiger.
Go, Andy. Thank you, Congressman McCotter. Always a pleasure having you on the show, making us act like grown-ups. All right. Let me welcome back our